In this image, we are going to do an exposure adjustment using curves. In this image, we have our subject here who's in shadow, so we're going to use curves to try to pinpoint and brighten the shadow in the car. When we're going to go over to Photoshop, we have to right-click, edit in Photoshop Adobe CC, and then we're going to do edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. Even though there are not any adjustments, it makes it easier to save and find later. Edit. It's going to launch Photoshop. Here's our image. Again, we go over to the adjustments panel and we are going to add curves adjustment layer. When we click on it, nothing's going to happen straight off the bat, but we're going to have our properties pop up, and this is what we're going to be adjusting. Like any other adjustment, there's going to be some presets that alter some of your levels or channels. In this picture, the closest one would actually be lighten, because we do want to probably lighten up the picture a little bit. So sometimes these presets are a nice place to start. Again, we have our histogram, and we'll notice that our values are a little, we have a gap here in the shadows. So again, you want to bring that over a little bit. We've lightened the picture just by lifting the exposure, so taking a point, putting it on this line and lifting it up, so that overall brightens the exposure. And then we're going to get into the shadows area here, create a couple points, and then if we drag them up a little bit, we'll be able to brighten the shadows, specifically the dark parts of the shadow. So we're going to get in here. Curves can be tricky because if you go too far, you're going to get reversed exposure where things don't have a good amount of contrast. So if you go too far, you can get into like negative images. So for example, if you bring a point here, and start twisting things like upside down, you get like a solarized looking image, which is not what we want. So here we go. You can get a before and after where our subject's getting a little bit lighter. This is it takes a little finessing to make it the right exposure. Trying to bring up our subject. I like to test a before and after, and I want to maintain the blueness of that car, but make sure that our subject gets a bit brighter without getting too gray. I can do an overall adjustment where it makes most of it brighter and just keep kind of lifting. There we go. Something like that. There we go. Once you have a good adjustment, you're going to go ahead and do a file and save. And that will update in Lightroom.